rules. You know, we watched the previous board, at the last meeting, just cancel public comment. Things like this, we're doing to help prevent something like that, so the public has more say in it. Just trying to
Understood,
keep it
but like I
orderly.
said, I don't agree with the relegated time slots and stuff, you know. You wanna lead, you lead from the front, not from the rear. I got one more once it opened to public issue. Environment?
Any other, from the board, or the public, anybody, any comments on this? So we're just, right now, we're just voting on this amendment, from Mr. Pekarik. Supervisor, yeah, I'm gonna apologize, I didn't know the TV cameras were gonna be here today, but, I stand fast on my belief that the public will never be thrown, as far as I'm concerned, we'll never ask the public to be thrown out of a building that they're paying for, and you come here to hear us. I don't think we should ever throw you out. We don't have to agree with you, and you don't have to agree with us, but just because we disagree doesn't mean I have the right to throw you out. Right, and as I said, this is not someone who disagrees, it's not even someone that maybe shouts at us or, is very, very vocal. It's about someone who is so disruptive that we cannot continue the meeting. That's a very narrow circumstance. I personally have never seen such a time when I've been going to a town board meeting, perhaps you have, but that's the purpose of it. I have been shouted at for 6 years, we've been yelled at, so, yeah.
Again, this has nothing to do with shouting at, this is extreme circumstances, it's like someone.
I just got a loud voice, I don't shout.
Granted, someone throws it, someone goes streaking across the room, I think we're gonna throw them out.
That's their good luck.
Yeah, that's right. My concern is more, of course, with the First Amendment rights. The other part is, who's gonna be doing the throwing out? The police department? What happens is, if somebody starts yelling and screaming,
Again, this is not.
excuse me, sir, excuse me, let me just finish, please. It's one of the rules. If the police department stands up and grabs somebody, the cell phones go on. Nobody sees the first part of any argument. All they see is the police department grabbing somebody and telling them they have to leave the building. I believe that the public has a right to say what they want to say without being thrown out of a meeting.
And we agree, that's why this amendment is offered, to help fix the issue in the original bill, original proposal, I should say.
Yeah, I agree with that. And the alternative is that someone is so disruptive that the meeting cannot continue. And so we're all sitting here watching someone disrupt the meeting and not stopping. I think I think we have a right, I think you have a right as the residents to a meeting that continues. A person who's that disruptive is not allowing anyone else to speak. So, again, it's very narrow, and also I would note that Jeff's proposal appears to say it's a board decision to remove you from the meeting, therefore that would sounds to me like a majority vote.
Can I ask a question? I appreciate Councilman Pekarik fixing some of the language that was concerning. I want to go back, Chief Dens and our attorney, as we had discussed this last time, the language that was very problematic about removal. I would just like to hear from the person that would be in charge of the removal and legally to address the concerns that are brought up. I know we changed the word from will to may. I hate to put either of you on the spot, but I would just like to hear your thoughts on it, if you could.
Well, if you ever turn on the news, anytime a police officer removes somebody from a public venue, that becomes problematic, whether justified or not. So it is a very dicey issue. I agree with Councilman Pekarik that if it is unruly, if you have somebody who's at the microphone and just is clenched onto it and won't leave, we may be justified. You have to take these on a case-by-case basis, but it is a dicey piece of work for us to get involved in that.
Chief, if we remove somebody, of course, I already know the answer, that could open us up to litigation.
Opening the door back there opens you up to litigation.
So I think the chief spoke on the issue very similar to what I would say. I mean, people have a right to be in a public place, but then again, this isn't saying that they will be ejected from the meeting, that they may. And so it's gonna be a case-by-case basis, depending on their behavior at that moment, and what decision is made in that moment as to whether we'll be subject to additional litigation.
I just think it would be better if we did, instead of saying we're gonna throw people out, we would suspend the meeting and we'd go into an executive session until things calm down before anybody puts their hands on anybody else.
Well, we can't go on to executive session just to avoid the public, even if it's someone screaming at us. I mean, there's very specific ways to do that. I mean, to me, the alternative is that we just stop the meeting and this person wins and has shut everybody down, and to me, that's not a very satisfactory. Now, like I said, I've actually never seen an instance where we might want to do this, so what, if people just want to leave this part completely out, I mean, that would be, I'm fine with that, but please.
I think what it's all boiling down to is the public safety, including you people. If things are so bad that it's a threat to the public that's in the room, then I think that the chief would have called his people in, and that would solve the problem. Hopefully, it would be taped, because it's taped there, it's taped over there right now, and I think that would be the solving problem. If it's detrimental to all the people in the room, somebody's gotta put a stop to it.
And I don't disagree, but I think that should be left to the people that were trained to handle that,
Right,
so
that's what I said. We
not
have
the
to
town
go-
board.
It would have to go to the police, not to us.
Correct, they've had the training to know when it's time to step in.
Right. When it becomes a problem for everybody.
So my question would this be considered like a town code, a law of the town? If it is a law, if it is a code, the chief has the right to help enforce the law in this town. So I'm wondering, is this just a proposal? Is this a code that you're going to establish?
Sue, the law is the First Amendment right, people have a right to say whatever they want. They can be as loud as they want, there is no rule that says you can't yell at a town board.
It's just a resolution, it's not a addition to the code.
Okay. If it was a code, it would help the chief in enforcing, I would think, over a resolution where someone's going to have to make a judgment call.
Well, there are already several state laws that, we can enforce disorderly conduct, unlawful assembly, inciting a riot, however far you wanna push it. So there are avenues that we can take to protect public safety.
So that we don't need to put that verbiage in this particular resolution then, because we do have the state laws that allow you to make sure that we are safe while we're here.
Yeah, I don't believe this is about creating new codification, it's more decorum in how we wanna keep things kinda civil in here.
So I'm just against any language that says we have the right to throw somebody out of a meeting. I don't think we have that right.
Mr. Hanley, we could end up with a situation where someone did come in with ill intent, not just to speak up loudly, maybe to get physical, and at that point, someone has to make a judgment call.
The police department.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question? Mrs. Kim's bringing up some good points. So, right now, Chief, as being a new person here, if anything like that happened, we have 2 officers of security, we have you. If something like that occurred, as Mrs. Kim just described, you already have in place how you would handle it, correct?
That's correct, that's why the gentlemen are in the back of the room, and why I'm up here, that's what you pay us for. So, it's just a matter of, when you're setting your decorum, are you tossing out somebody who's being violent? Or are we tossing out somebody who you don't like what they're saying?
Yeah.
Councilman
Go on.
Councilman Hanley, I just want to understand, your concern is the fact that it says the board's decision as opposed to, say, Chief Den's decision. Is that your concern, that the board would make that decision?
My concern is that we're gonna throw anybody out of a meeting. That none of us have that training, none of us have been qualified to determine when somebody is too loud, when somebody is too obnoxious. I don't think we have any right to say who's getting thrown out and who gets to stay.
What appears to be the most prudent solution is to pass this particular paragraph without the last sentence. We've, heard a lot about how this has probably never been seen to come to fruition, so I don't know how much more we wanna spend debating about something that we're not sure will ever happen, that we already have other mechanisms in place with, 3 police at our meeting and actual penal code that doesn't allow people to act in a disorderly manner or in some of the other ways that the chief spoke about.
Tina, I like where you're going with that. I thought, as Council Picard, maybe consider if the language was to encourage proper decorum and the rest of that, and we consider the striking of removal by the board's discretion, that we make clear that we have a standard here in West Seneca that we want constructive, although it can be debatable, it can be loud, it can at times be very difficult, but we will encourage to have certain decorum and mutual respect, but healthy debate. And perhaps if we struck the part of the board's decision. And I know your motivation, Councilman Pekarik, and I agree with you and commend you, but as I'm hearing Councilman Hanley and also Chief Dens, I think maybe there's a way we can accomplish that without having the board make a decision on removing somebody because of their lack of decorum.
Yeah, I think that the means to the end is still there without that language.
If I might add to that, there is wording within the state laws, within the general municipal law for public hearings, that the supervisor is the one that maintains decorum at the meeting. Now, that is something that is specifically written for public hearings. These are public meetings, and I don't know if you want to entertain that either the supervisor or Chief Dens could make a decision as to when a person might need to be removed.
So that's always been part of it, and I would support the supervisor running, having decorum. I agree with, we do need some kind of an agenda. We need some kind of rules of decorum, okay? The only rule I'm against is throwing people out.
Mr. Pekarik, do you want to withdraw your amendment?
I'll amend it if you want. Get rid of the last sentence, we'll change the first word there.
Well, he's gonna make, if he's gonna do an amendment.
All right, well, first we gotta vote on his amendment, because he made the motion and I seconded it. So we need to vote whether to take his amendment or not.
Alright, I'm gonna withdraw the
All right,
original
let's
motion.
just vote it, and let's vote it down, and it'll be, or not, whichever.
I'll withdraw the original motion if you want, I'll do a quick amendment
Okay.
to the original one. I'll put to encourage proper decorum at town board meetings, no member of the public shall engage in any behavior that can be construed as obscene, threatening, violent, or that specifically obstructs the ability of the meeting to proceed. We'll strike the last sentence.
I'll second. On the question? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. So I have an amendment also, so that was number 12. I move that we just simply strike item 2, which lays out the order of the agenda. We've already tweaked it a bit, we may tweak it in the future. I don't think there's any need to put in the resolution the exact order of the agenda.
Supervisor, can we table this to the next meeting when everything is cleaned up, and then we'll vote on it at that time?
I'll second this amendment, both carried.
All right, so we have a motion to strike number 2, and we have a second. Are there any, on the motion? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Now, Mr. Hanley, you're moving to put this back on the table?
To leave this on the table to the next meeting so we could clean this all up, make sure our language meets everything that we talked about tonight. If it's good, then we can approve it at the next meeting.
I think we've tabled it enough, I'd say let's vote on it.
I'd like to see it in writing.
We have a second?
On a motion on the floor is to table it to the next meeting.
Right, do we have a second?
Can I second?
Motion fails for lack of second.
I'll motion that we pass the original rules of order now with, or excuse me, the rules of order now that they've been amended, as amended by both of them.
Second. On the question? All in favor? Opposed? Aye. You mean, no? No, okay. Motion carried, 4-1. So, now we move on to issues of the public. Anyone would like to say anything about, something about anything is welcome to come up.
Right? Everybody's talking about the green environment. So I had an idea and I brought this to the previous board, I got shot down. Because the Union Road is a county road, got it understood, maybe this is more directed towards Mr. Adams. If he can communicate with the county highway department or
State.
Gotcha. I'm driving down Union Road, I get a green light. I'm coming down, the light turns green, maybe 30 seconds later, just before I come close, it's hitting yellow again. And stuff, and I gotta stop. Start, stop. Everybody's starting and stopping down Union Road. Wouldn't it be great, for once, to see if we can get Union Road, just to start, to work something like Elm or Oak downtown where the lights are timed out, so that people can go from one end of West Seneca to the other without a lot of stopping. Get cars off the road, save the environment. Woo-hoo, everybody wins. So just a suggestion. I know it's a state road. I thought it was a county road. You could talk to the state. Wouldn't it be great? And that would save the environment. I always end on a smile.
Mr. Adams, would you like to call the state and ask them to coordinate the lights?
I don't know how easy that would be. That's something I can look into. I know that there's probably a lot of different.
Wouldn't it be great though?
Hey, everybody has their opinion and things they'd like to see. It'd be something, I'm sure there's traffic studies and other things that would have to be done. It's not just gonna be a quick and easy process. I would, reach out and make a phone call. I don't know how far
Please,
it's gonna go, but that's pretty much out of my hands.
See?
And as is now the tradition in this town board, we'll report the results at the next one. And if you want to leave your contact info, we'll contact you directly. Are the contact cards still up there, Brendan? Yeah. So just a reminder, if you ask a question and you want an answer, there's a contact card up there and you fill it out and we'll get back to you and we'll also give the answer at the next
Wait,
board.
where'd she go? She ran away.
Scared
her out. I should be thrown out. Hey,
The office is in Southgate Plaza.
Ms. Lyson, please.
I have a question. Are we going to start all town meetings at 6 o'clock? Is that
Yes.
why?
Well, the town board meetings, yes.
Do you think that is an inconvenience to people who are working, that get out of work at 5 o'clock to get here by 6 o'clock? They may have children to pick up, they may have obligations at home to make sure. I just think that 6 o'clock is an inconvenience to a lot of the residents to attend a meeting. I realize that it's probably beneficial for all of you once you're here, but I imagine you get hungry after an 8-hour day too. So I would like to see it reconsidered.
I mean, I'm open to moving it later. I do want to point out we did help improve it by limiting 3 p.m. work sessions and meetings.
I understand
A lot more
that.
people go to evenings.
If you
And
wanna
I worked
do
till
that.
5 o'clock too, to be honest. The one meeting was a little tight for me to get here too, but we're trying to balance it out a little bit, but it is something we might do in the future.
And we do video as the prior town board that initiated the policy, and we video all these. I mean, I understand what you're saying. I think by eliminating the work sessions at 3 o'clock, we've made the reports of the department heads more accessible to the public. And I'm guessing these meetings can go a bit longer than they used to, so that's part of the reason that I went to 6.
I understand why you went to 6, and especially, it's very interesting to hear the department heads speak rather than at 3 o'clock, because we weren't able to attend that, people who work. On the other hand, if I really don't give a rat's patoot what the people have to say about the departments, and I really wanna know what's going on in the town, I may miss it if I come in at 7 o'clock. So, just a consideration. Go on to the next topic that I have. I'm confused, and I'm gonna ask you, Chief Dens. I see the school signs on Potter Road as I come off of Orchard Park Road going toward the hospital. There's a school there, and it says 40 miles an hour. If I make a left-hand turn onto Slate Avenue, there's a sign that says school zone, 30 miles an hour. What the hell time am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to go 40, am I supposed to go 30? The school is still there.
We'll have to address that through the traffic safety committee, because when they redid the construction on Potter Road, they re-signed it.
Oh.
And again, those are two roads, neither one of them is a town road.
I just, if you're at the signal, and you're looking this way, it says 40 miles an hour. If you happen to look this way, it says 30 miles an hour, and it's a school zone. I don't even understand that.
I mean, they're two different roads, first off,
Right,
so you got me, Beverly, we'll look into it.
okay,
I'm
thank you.
sure me and Brian will figure it out. I do know Potter Road was re-signed after the construction down there, and the last town board had issues with them, and I don't know if we got any more.
Okay, I'm sorry, Brian, but you're gonna get another one. Now that it's coming to spring, before the trees bud out, could any of your maintenance men trim the welcome to West Seneca signs so that people can see them? I'm in favor of people coming to West Seneca, and especially the one on Transit across